with a mixture of simple properties and single-storey garages. The design of the house is completely out of character. Also, in the HRA section 2.3 to 2.5, it states that the garage is in use daily of 2 cars. This is false information. I can actually state the garage hasn't been used in over 10 years. The new use will lead to extra traffic as well as extra pollution in our quiet cul-de-sac. I also note in 2007, there was previous application submitted. The parish council objected to the application. It was also refused by the council and then refused at the appeal. The inspector believed the proposed development was inappropriate for the following reasons. The residential development was too big for the site. The house was not in keeping with the character of our area. I would in fact harm the street scene. Therefore, our conclusion is, today, these reasons still stand. In fact, since the appeal was refused, even more importance has been placed on good quality design by the government and also the council. The proposed house is therefore badly designed, out of character with the local area, and would affect our privacy and the way we use our homes. I would therefore be grateful if you take these serious concerns on board when considering this application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have another speaker, Nick Anthony, 467 Lower Queens Road.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, I'm Nick Anthony of Nick Anthony Architects, and we're the agent for this application. The proposal is for a chalet-style bungalow to replace an existing double garage. A pre-planning application was submitted that had a positive response. We then submitted a full application based on the success of the pre-application response. We're also pleased that this application has been recommended for approval by the planning officer. We're also happy with the proposed planning conditions, which also respond positively to the comments of the parish council. In order to reduce impact to neighbours, it was advised in the pre-app report that the proposal should be a low-impact 1.5-storey chalet-style bungalow with maximum 5 metres in height, which is what we have submitted. There are very good separation distances from the proposal to adjoining properties. For example, there is 33.5 metres separation distance from the west-facing elevation of the proposed dwelling to the rear of the terraces at Albert Terrace. The land also slopes down from Albert Terrace to the proposed dwelling, and there is a rear service access road with continuous double garages between the proposed dwelling and the rear gardens of Albert Terrace. All of these items, we believe, reduces any impact or loss of privacy outlook and is in favour of the development. You will notice that the only 2 windows at first floor level are for the 2 bedrooms overlooking the rear access road. Therefore, there is no impact or overlooking towards Albert Terrace. There is over 22 metres separation distance from the rear of the proposal to the rear of number 69 and number 67 Lower Queens Road, which we believe is sufficient. You will also notice that there are no proposed windows overlooking towards these properties. Therefore, there is no impact or overlooking to these rear gardens. We understand that the owner of number 21 is concerned about impact to her flat, as you heard, who appears also to be the main objector. It is worth noting that there is over 12 metres separation distance between the closest part of the proposal and the closest part of number 21. We appreciate that the land gently slopes downwards and eastwards towards number 21. The slope is gentle and the separation distance is considered acceptable by the planning officer. Furthermore, the bulk and low 5 metre height of the proposal is also considered acceptable. There are 2 small windows at first floor on the east-facing side elevation of the proposal. However, these windows are small, obscure, and non-openable up to eye level. Therefore, there will be no overlook into number 21 as suggested, or into their communal amenity space for the flats 17, 19, 21, 23 on the Winders cul-de-sac. It is also worth noting that the footprint of the proposed dwelling is 50.4 square metres, which is actually less than the area of the garage to be removed. To conclude, this proposed dwelling has been designed sensitively to reduce impact to the neighbours in terms of its siting, mass, size and height. We do not consider this site to be backland development, and this is supported by District Council as the proposal faces an existing cul-de-sac. We believe this proposal makes good use of the land and is suitable for development, which is also supported by district. Finally, if I may, the external design matches the character of the existing cul-de-sac. The intention is to provide a low-impact, sensitively designed dwelling that has neutral impact and is
You
a
had 10
natural and welcomed
seconds.
addition to the cul-de-sac. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're finished?
Apologies, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I did call this in, although it would have got here anyway because of the number of objections that this application has received. This is backland development. It is backland development. I'm concerned about it. I will go back to 2007. 2007, there was a slightly larger application on this site being proposed. It was turned down, although the officers gave very similar reasons for accepting that development as to accepting this development. It was turned down by this committee, it was turned down then by the parish council, has been already commented, and the planning officer at the time was concerned about overlooking of neighbouring properties, especially, interestingly, Albert Terrace, and I want to ask a question about that in a moment because of a statement that's just been made by the applicant's agent. Parking is an issue, and I think it will increase parking pressure on the area, maybe small, but it will do so. I don't like the design. I think we have recently turned down a similar sort of chalet bungalow because it is a house by any other name. And yeah, so I would like to go back to that question, which is, I believe that actually there are upstairs windows facing Albert Terrace. Can you confirm that?
Yes, there are upper storey windows that face. It's mentioned that they face the garages to the rear of the Albert Terrace properties, but yes, they do face towards the Albert Terrace houses. They are the main windows for the first floor. They are the two-bedroom windows. The other windows on the opposite side that obviously directly overlook the neighbour's garden are sort of bathroom and hallway windows and would be high-level obscure glazed. But I absolutely confirm that there are windows in that elevation.
Yes, thank you. Are you certain and confident that those windows can't overlook the gardens of Albert Terrace? Because in the planning inspector's report, at that time, that particular development proposal, they could actually overlook the gardens, and he was sufficiently minded at that time to use that as a reason of refusal. In my mind, it could be conditioned with obscure glazing if we can feel confident that that particular there is overlooking of the gardens.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to come back on that. Obviously, officers consider that there wouldn't be significant overlooking. I think this is quite a useful plan here, actually, because it sort of shows the relationship between the new property and those garages at Albert Terrace. Obviously, they're on slightly higher ground, and obviously the garages themselves would offer quite significant screening with the sort of lower height to this development. I do think any views of the rear gardens of Albert Terrace would be extremely limited. We could condition that they're obscure glazed. We obviously don't particularly like doing that when they're the only windows for bedrooms. We certainly wouldn't want to restrict them to be non-opening, which is the other part of that standard condition. But yeah, we can obscure glaze. Particularly, I would recommend up to the 1.7, so they can have clear upper parts to the glazing. As I say, it's not something we particularly like to do because it doesn't give great amenity to those windows, but certainly it is within our power to do that.
Councillor Patel, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just before I make my comments, can the officer clarify on relevant planning history. There's a second application there. What's the status of that one?
Just bear with me a second. Let me just pull it up on my system. Sorry, I'm not seeing. No, that's the, you're talking about the EF/2020, what are you talking about there? Sorry. That's the pre-app. That's the reference to the pre-application submission that would have informed this plan application. That's a pre-application reference. There's no live planning applications apart from this one.
All right, thank you for that. This application is somewhat confusing. I mean, obviously, it's the address is listed as 67 Queens Road, so Lower Queens Road, but actually it backs onto the Windsors, and essentially the impact is actually going to be greater for those on the Windsors than those on Lower Queens Road. The Windsors is a really unique road in that all of the properties on that road have uniform character and size, and this development there, therefore, because I'm assuming that this would have a Windsor's postal code, would be somewhat smaller than all of the other developments on the Windsors, and on that basis alone, it's not in keeping with what's already there on the Windsors. I agree with, well, I partly agree with Councillor Neville in the sense of the comment made around backland development, and that's why I'm saying that this property has no identity, because it belongs to, well, essentially belongs to neither. But if it was just associated with Lower Queens Road property, then it would be backland development. Agreed that there is an established garage there and essentially established footprint, but I'm not happy with this application. I think the design needs more work done to it before a scheme comes forward. But however, having said that, on the basis alone that this is, a property associated with the Windsors, I feel that it's out of keeping with what's already there, and it would not complement the road or the other properties on the road. Just a further point, in terms of the garages that are still going to be utilised by the two properties on the Windsors at the moment, is there enough access to those garages, turn circle, etc.? That wasn't clear from the presentation slide.
Sorry, when you say the garage, you mean the parking spaces that are in the Windsors that serve this property?
So on the site plan, on the proposed site plan, there are garages which are associated with other properties on the Windsors.
Apologies, I'm just going to pull the site plan up because I just want to clarify what it is that we're referring to here before I answer. So this is the proposed site plan. Is this what you're referring to? So you've got here parking spaces. So you've got the two parking spaces that are associated with, I believe, 21, the Windsors, and then this third parking space, which would be, I think it previously was associated with 67 Lower Queens Road and would be associated with the new development. Obviously, these garages here serve Albert Terrace and are accessed from Lower Queens Road. There's no access to those from the Windsors. But these are the only parking spaces. There's no, it's our turning area. There's obviously this manoeuvrability area here that enable people to enter and leave those.
Where is the proposed refuse collection for that site?
There isn't one. Obviously, it's a single dwelling. So, and it has access to the garden, so you would expect them to keep their wheelie bins in the garden and wheel them out to the front of the property on bin collection day.
Is that you okay with that answer, Councillor Patel? Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I may have been looking at the answer to my question, but I wondered if Mr Courtney could put up a plan or such like showing the amenity space associated with this building, because it seems very, very small, and I just wondered if you could give us some sort of dimensions as well. Thank you.
Apologies, didn't have my microphone on. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I've just put this plan back up. So this is the amenity space. You can just see here, sort of up to where this tree is, would be the amenity space. So it's kind of a sort of side/rear garden here. It is, I've got it, I don't have to refer to the officer's report because I've got it here. So it's 70 square metres in total, that area. It's considered to have a reasonable outlook. Obviously, it is fairly modest. It's not a huge amount of amenity space, but obviously it is a two-bed unit. It's not what you would consider to be a large family dwelling, but it is, officer's opinion, it's a suitable size, but it is fairly small.
May I just ask a question on that? Is the amenity space all around to be used, or is it divided into a front garden and a back garden? And if so, where is that divide?
Well, yeah, technically, I mean, this is actually marked up on this plan as the front garden. Obviously, this would be where the access is, and certainly this would be classed as the front garden. This obviously would be the rear garden. I couldn't say, based on this plan, exactly where the fence line would be. I would assume that there's a small line here, and that would be where the sort of fence line would be. You would expect that to be a kind of gate into it. But certainly this area here, at least up to there, would be the private amenity space. This part here would be the front garden area, which you wouldn't class as private amenity space. And I'm just slightly less sure about what we would categorise this part as. It depends on what the boundary treatment is to be here.
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Chair. I've gone hot and cold on this one for the last 2 weeks. I think I've been looking at it so many times. I think we're going to play semantics again. It is in the back garden of number 67, therefore it's probably backland development, although it has access to the street at the Windsors. My concerns are the size of the amenity space, but I accept it's within the planning guidance. It always seems we're going to minimums rather than maximums. There are no maximums, but we just keep going just above minimums and things, and I think that's indicative of the way things are going. I have some concern. 67 does have parking on the front, but on the 2 occasions I've walked down there, because I just cannot get my head around how this fits. Certainly further down the road there are cars overhanging the pavement because they cannot literally get right onto their front garden. So there's concerns over parking, concerns over the effect on the Windsors, but I can't find in my heart a planning reason to object to it. I really have been trying. I say I've gone hot and cold. I'm not sure where I stand on it still. Thank you.
Councillor Pond.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I only opine as follows. Backland development. Well, now, there are buildings in the area which was previously, I think, unused land, and they are backland development too. The existence of one building, which is backland development, doesn't in any sense justify the erection of another building, which is plainly and purely backland development.
Any other comments on this application? So I think we can go to the formal vote on this.
Right. The application, members, before you is to grant planning permission. So can I have your show of hands for granting permission, please? Okay. Against? And abstentions? Right, there were 0 for the application, 11 against and 4 abstentions, so planning permission has not been granted.
So can a member make a proposal to refuse this application? Okay.
I'll give it a go. Right, reasons for refusal, out of keeping with the area or the Windsors in particular. Number 2, backland development, would that stand up?
Say a form of cramped backland development.
Great. Cramped backland development. Design, poor design. I've got that out of keeping already. Any inappropriate development in the streets, yeah.
So these are citing valid planning grounds. You could,
Sorry, Chairman. Obviously, the point that this property is going to be associated with the Windsors, I think needs to be made clear in the reasons for refusal. That if that is the case, then it is out of keeping with the other properties on the Windsors in terms of its design, size, and bulk.
that's, yes, just reiterating what was just said. So do we have a seconder?
Sorry, can I just, sorry.
Oh, I do beg.
Apologies, Councillor Pond. Just before we go to the second, I just want to just clarify. So, I mean, I know there was a sort of few suggestions, but it seems to me that there's sort of 2 reasons for refusal there. One is the design, size and bulk being out of keeping with the area, with specific reference to the Windsors being made. That would all be rolled into sort of one reason for refusal. The other one is about it being a form of cramped backland development. Again, that could form a second. I will double check, but it doesn't appear that we have a signed unilateral undertaking on this in terms of the impact on the SAC, so we would have a standard reason for refusal just about the fact that we haven't got the means to secure that mitigation. If you're happy, I think we should also add that on, just as a third reason.
And Madam Chairman, if I might also consider that the amount of usable private amenity space is insufficient.
So, yes.
Yep, that's perfect. So that'd be four reasons for refusal in total. Yep. Okay.
So can we go have a seconder on this? Okay. And vote?
Right, the motion is to refuse on those 4 reasons. Members, can you show your hands, please, for refusal? Against? Abstentions?
Way forward. Against. Yes, I said, way forward.
Do not develop this plot of land.
Do not develop this plot of land.
Would Councillor Pond be happy for us to just say that we do not feel there is a way forward in this instance?
Yes, I think that's what's being said. So there isn't a way forward on this application.
Chairman, can I just announce the result? It was 12 for, 1 against and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. So is that it? Just, yeah. So on that decision, that is our last application. I'd like to thank everyone for your contributions, and thank the officers for their hard work, Vice Chair, and